Let's talk about the workplace discrimination of trans, intersex and non-binary people and why it should matter to you. Despite the fact that discrimination in the workplace and on the job market is prohibited in the European Union, studies and first-hand accounts confirm that the struggle for inclusivity is far from over. Discrimination and harassment of trans, intersex and non-binary workers and job seekers can take many different forms, from verbal or even physical harassment to being denied fair wages, advancement or even employment. Some of the most common issues we have identified in our research include misgendering and dead naming. Let's have a look at what these terms mean. When you misgender someone, you refer to them using language that isn't in line with their gender identity. For example, referring to a man as madam, sister, she, and similar are all instances of misgendering. A dead name, in this context, is another term for a person's birth name. Since their birth name usually doesn't align with their gender identity, many trans people will change their name to better match it. Continuing to use their old name is what we refer to as dead naming. Since misgendering and dead naming invalidate trans people's very identity, they can have a particularly negative impact on their mental health. Some employers disregard anti-discrimination laws and their responsibility to uphold workers' dignity. Likewise, the existing protections against discrimination are not used to their full potential and are lacking in many ways. As is often the case with all kinds of discrimination, trans, intersex and non-binary people might avoid using the existing protective mechanisms because they are afraid of retaliation. In times of economic crisis and high unemployment, they are naturally even less likely to risk losing their job, having their wages cut, and so on. Fear of discrimination and harassment also prevents many trans, intersex and non-binary workers from publicly expressing their gender identity or the fact that they are intersex, which has a severe impact on their self-worth, mental health and work performance. It also means that trans people will frequently delay their social, legal and medical transition in order to keep their job. According to Being Trans in the EU, a 2014 report by the European Union Agency for Fundamental Rights, discrimination in employment occurs more frequently than in any other area of social life covered by the survey. 37% of trans respondents said that they had experienced discrimination when looking for work, and 27% reported discrimination at work. The most common barriers to the inclusion of trans, intersex and non-binary people in the workplace are a lack of knowledge, prejudiced attitudes, poor acceptance of diversity, and unconscious bias in job recruiters. Dealing with issues only when they arise, instead of adopting proactive policies, as well as focusing on products and productivity instead of people, also serve as roadblocks when attempting to develop an inclusive workplace. While creating these policies, it is also important to bear in mind a variety of social factors such as race, class, sexuality, ability, and others. Creating a welcoming and safe workplace environment for all, including trans, intersex, and non-binary people, comes with many benefits. Inclusive policies lead to less discrimination, and less discrimination is associated with better psychological health and increased job satisfaction for everyone involved. When people can bring their authentic selves to work, they tend to feel more satisfied and motivated. Perspectives from people different to us teach us to stay open to others, creating room for empathy, solidarity, and democratization, both in the workplace and in everyday life. Inclusive practices also have a positive impact on improving staff innovation, collaboration, and retention, resulting in better business performance as well as external brand strength. Additionally, consumers and job seekers who value inclusive practices are more likely to become part of an inclusive business, either as a customer base or a prospective employee. Creating a culture of respect benefits everyone in the workplace and, by extension, our homes and society as a whole. What can you do about all this? Learning about the issues specific to trans, intersex and non-binary people in the workplace is one of the most important steps. With that in mind, taking part in diversity training is always a good idea. When it comes to issues such as bathroom access, dress codes, pronoun or name usage, and transitioning at work, having inclusive policies in place ensures that you don't have to struggle to come up with a solution on a case-to-case basis. You can find useful tips on how to contribute to workplace inclusivity at inclusionforall.eu, where you can download the toolkits produced as part of the project. The toolkits can be used as a guideline for training on the topic of creating inclusive workplaces for trans, intersex, and non-binary people. Inclusion for All, Trans, Intersex, and Non-binary People at Work is a 2-year project that started in November 2020. The project is being implemented in 5 partner countries as part of the European Union's Rights, Equality and Citizenship programme. The aim of the project is to promote the effective implementation of the principle of non-discrimination against trans, intersex and non-binary people at work.